For the first time in history, TV cameras are allowed to show footage of criminal trials in UK courts. However, the coverage will be restricted to the judge handing down a sentence and explaining their reasons for their decision. Criminal law generally deals with offences against society at large, rather than against an individual party. But there are times that the victim is an individual. Examples of criminal law include drunk driving, sexual offences, burglary, kidnapping, and murder. These differ to civil law, which tend to be less serious, and cover areas such as contract dispute and character defamation. In the criminal cases, the footage will not be released live, in order to avoid any abusive or violent reaction from a defendant or other members in the court. The footage you see in the background is the judge sentencing Ben Oliver, who pleaded guilty to manslaughter after he stabbed his elderly grandfather to death. So clearly a wonderful and honourable individual. My sympathies and prayers do go out to the man killed and his family. Clearly in the UK, the inclusion of cameras in criminal courts will be very limited to the end of the trial. The question of whether cameras should be permitted to criminal cases and allow filming from the start to the finish of a trial is an interesting topic. There are both legitimate arguments on either side of this debate, and I will present a couple of examples from high-profile American cases to present both points of view. The two cases concerned are the O.J. Simpson case in 1995 and the Carl Rittenhouse case in 2021. In the O.J. Simpson case, there were clear racial implications, and in the Rittenhouse case there were political factors at play. Now, I can imagine that the vast majority of people watching this video are all aware of the history of the O.J. Simpson trial and how he was acquitted on 2 counts of murder, so I'm not be going into the detail of that case. I am interested in discussing the impact of having that whole trial filmed continuously, and the media reporting on it each day would have had. Although O.J. Simpson was found not guilty of the 2 murders, many people believe this was an incorrect decision. Nevertheless, by having the case filmed continuously, proponents of having cameras in courts could easily argue that this allows no, quote, cover-ups, unquote, to take place, and the viewing public are able to view every moment of the trial as and when it occurs. In this specific case, the trial took place from January 1995 to October 1995, so it would be near impossible to view every moment of this case, but you see the point being made here. By having cameras in the courtroom, if O.J. Simpson had been found guilty, this would reduce any likelihood of accusations of foul play and justice being denied. This is a clear advantage of having cameras in the courtroom. On the other hand, the Rittenhouse case may present a clear argument as to why cameras should not be allowed into criminal trials. Although occurring far more recently, this is a far less well-known case outside of America. Carl Rittenhouse fatally shot 2 men and wounded another in Wisconsin after the shooting of Jacob Blake by a police officer. This was during the summer of 2020 when Black Lives Matter protests and riots were taking place across the USA. He was acquitted of all charges on the grounds of self-defence. The case was politically charged. The issue surrounding the media coverage of this case is that some more left-leaning news outlets, such as MSNBC, only showed the prosecution's closing argument, and not Rittenhouse's defence team's closing argument. If a viewer only gets to see a prosecution's closing argument and no rebuttal of the comments being made, then obviously that person can have their perspective easily influenced. CNN, another left-leaning organisation, skipped the first hour of the defence team's closing argument. The vast majority of people work full-time jobs, have children to raise, social lives to lead, and they're not going to be following every minute of every big case on TV or the radio. But having media outlets show only some clips of these cases due to their bias is clearly not a fair representation of a criminal trial. Perhaps it is not so much the issue of cameras being in the court itself, but how the footage is used by the media and others. These are a couple of clear supporting and opposing views of whether cameras should be allowed in criminal courts. But that's just my thoughts on the matter. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Many thanks for listening all. Bye.